Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're going to have a look at some of the racing tomorrow, all of the races at Cheltenham and a race at Doncaster. And we'll start off in the first race at Cheltenham, the JCB Triumph Trial. And the horse that I'm going to go for here is Gamble du Matin. Now, Gamble du Matin has won a conditions hurdles race over in France. So he does have hurdles experience, so that's not an issue. He's trained by Paul Nicholls or he's now moved to Paul Nicholls. And the interesting thing with Paul Nicholls is Paul doesn't often send horses to this race. In fact, he's sent 2 in the last 10 years. In 2013, he had Vincenzo Mio, who, although was beaten, he finished 3rd in this race. He finished 4th in this race. Vincenzo Mio then actually came out and won his next race before going to the Triumph itself and finishing 3rd. So Paul clearly believed that he had a Triumph hurdle horse on his hands that day. And when Vincenzo Mio actually came out the next time, he went to Kempton and he won by 17 lengths in a juvenile hurdle. So that was a sign that Paul knows whether he's got a decent juvenile and if it's worth sending here. The other time he had a runner here, it was in 2015 when he finished 2nd to So Royale with Adrien Dupont. Now, obviously, So Royale went on to do really well. Did So Royale go on to win the Triumph? Just having a quick look. Obviously, Adrien Dupont had actually beaten So Royale twice before that, and then got turned over in the Triumph hurdle. He got beaten once, before that, and then got turned over in the Triumph. So Royale, I can't remember. It's so long ago now. What did he do in the actual Triumph? March. No, he was well beaten in the Triumph. But Adrien Dupont went next time to Chepstow for the Grade 1 juvenile finale, and he won that. So both horses that Paul sent to this race have both been French bred. One went on to finish 3rd in the Triumph itself, having won a juvenile hurdle next time by 21 lengths, whilst the other horse came out next time in a Grade 1 at Chepstow and won. So I think Paul knows when he's got a horse worth running at this race. And the fact that he's not come back here for years, he hasn't come back since 2015, kind of suggests to me that he's never really felt he had a horse worthy of running here. But I think he thinks Gamble du Matin is worth running here, hence they're coming back here. And I think he could be above average. And you can currently get 11-4 about him, and I think that's not a bad price. It wouldn't surprise me if he went off favourite for this race. Moving on to the 1240, the 3 mile 1, 56 yards, novices limited handicap chase. And the horse I like here is quite low on our ratings, to be fair. It's Some Scope, who last time out ran a 139.5, which is only bettered by one horse. Everything's on tick, and that was ages ago, and he probably hasn't shown that form since. Well, he clearly hasn't shown that form since. Some Scope, I think, might have just got the hang of things now, and this is his trip. So he went up to 3 mile 1 and 54 yards at Catterick, the furthest he'd been, and he won it. The only other time he'd won was a 3 mile handicap at Haydock, which obviously, really tested them at Haydock. So I think it's all about the trip for Some Scope. And now he's got this trip. Now he's got that win under his belt. Now he's got the experience as well. This will be his 3rd run over fences already this season. I think he's going to improve on this 139.5. And I think he's going to ask the others to improve as well if they're going to be able to beat him. I also thought it was quite interesting to see his owner complain that Mr. Coffee was in this race, a novice handicap chase, almost suggesting that he was frustrated that he was in the race because he was really hopeful of his own one and actually maybe thought Mr. Coffee was the danger. So Some Scope is my selection in the second race, and he's currently 13-2. The third race, if you follow my videos and analysis, you'll know who I'm going to go for here. It's Calico. So Calico is currently, I think he's been running really well. I mean, last time out he got beat by a well-handicapped favourite in Triple Trade. A win for Walking Clover later today would certainly frank that form. He would have gone close multiple times. He's beaten... He's beaten the likes of Pay the Piper. That's not bad form. He's beaten the Grey Falco, albeit a fair while ago. And some of his efforts in behind, when he was second to That's Alright Gino, second to John Bon. He was going to finish second to John Bon at Aintree. It's all really good form. And I just felt Harry kicked on a little bit too soon last time out on Calico. His form now at Cheltenham is 2 runs and 2 seconds. He finished second in a handicap over 2 mile, and he's handicap hurdle, over 2 mile, and now a handicap chase over 2 mile. And I think Triple Trade will prove that he was well ahead of his mark that day. And yeah, I think Calico could be... I do like him here, to be honest, and I think he's going to take all the beating. It's great to see him top rated and clear top rated. Did I even put this race down? Grand Annual, second favourite to Cheltenham, long-term plan. So I have suggested maybe the Grand Annual, but I kind of feel that they might be trying to win a few races with him. They've got a couple that they could try and aim for that Grand Annual. Just having a look. He's currently rated 149, which would definitely get him in the Grand Annual. But I think they're not going to bother with that. They're just going to keep trying to win races with Calico this season. He's currently second favourite, which is great. And you can get 2 to 1 about him. Calico. We move on to the 150, the big race of the day. Just got time to do this, and then I'll pause the video, watch the next race, and then come back. And there's a few horses that I've highlighted previously in this race, and I'm going to side with 2. I'm going to side with 2 in this race, and I'm going to take on some that I've even suggested for this race, and I'll go over those reasons. So, horses that I quite like. So, Thunder Rock. I like the horse. I think he wants 3 mile. I don't think he beat... he beat Stayers last time in the Colin Parker Memorial. He beat Marla Mission. Marla Mission, I think, would have won a Welsh National over 3 mile 5. That was over 2 mile 3. So, Thunder Rock had every right to beat him. I think he wants to step up to 3 mile, and I think he might just find there's a couple of others that are a bit speedier here. Fakadoodery is a really good 2.5 mile horse. He is giving a lot of weight away, and he's not quite been running to his best. I mean, being beaten by Pictory would be a disappointing run for me. Being beaten by Pictory and Shishkin at Ascot the time before, that's a disappointing run for me. I think he should be beating Pictory, as good as Pictory is. So I'm almost suggesting that Fakadoodery is not quite the level he was. I wouldn't be picking Il Radoto, although he's got some good form here. Harry's chosen to ride Montmoral. Frero Bamboo, I worry about the trip here. I think Thunder Rock wants further. Frero Bamboo probably doesn't want this far and may just find that hill a bit tough in this race. And Tornham Frayed, who I actually highlighted for this race, I just wonder whether there's a few better horses in this race against him. He is a nice horse. Is he Premier Handicap class? I think he might finish 4th or 5th sort of thing. Plus he's just slightly out of the handicap. So, who do I like for this race? The first one is Montmoral. Now, Harry has chosen to ride him, Harry Cobden, which is always a good thing. If you actually look back at his form, it's not that bad. Second to Epatante over hurdles, second to John Bon over fences, second to the Real Whacker over this course and distance. 4th to Jerry Colombe at Sandown. Granted, he was beaten by Thunder Rock that day, but he was clearly, he didn't run to anywhere near his best, and something had clearly gone wrong. He then went to Aintree for a back to hurdles because obviously they were retaining their novice status, but also I think they were looking after their handicap mark. They thought, well, we could probably find a handicap off this current handicap mark, and although he didn't run great in the Liverpool hurdle, I think 2.5 back at Cheltenham will really suit him. And if he ran that performance that he did behind the Real Whacker when he beat Thunder Rock off levels, I don't see why he can't beat him again, actually getting a pound. It's the same course and distance. He's a pound better off for beating him 3.5 lengths, and I just feel that he might have been targeted at this race. He's had a wind up. Harry's clearly happy with him to jump back on him instead of Il Radoto, who's done nothing wrong at Cheltenham. And I think Montmoral is going to run a really big race here. And he's currently available at 11 to 2. The second horse I'm going to select in this race is Fugitive. And this is on the back of, I thought it was a really good effort when he was fourth last time, behind Stage Star, Not Long Till May and Il Rodotto. But he was far too keen. The cheek pieces were on, and he was far too keen that day. Interesting to see the cheek pieces are off. If he's not as keen, I think he can go well. That came off a mark of 153. I think they dropped him, didn't they? Let me just double check. They did. They dropped him to 151 from 153. There was nothing wrong with his effort off 153, sorry. He was just too keen. If he's not as keen, I think he's going to go very close here. And yeah, he's the second one in that race for me. That is Fugitive at 8 to 1. We move on to the 3 mile 2 handicap chase at Cheltenham, and it's good prize money. It's 60 grand for winning this handicap. It's a premier handicap, and I really like the entry here from Protectorate for Dan and Harry Skelton. So he is not a grade 1 horse. He is a grade 1 horse, but he's not quite, top class grade 1. But this is what I love about these types of horses. I really appreciate when the trainer goes, do you know what, I'm going to run him in a handicap then. I'm going to give loads of weight away. I just think they can do it. They can pull off these big weight-carrying performances, especially if they are good enough to, like winner Many Clouds Chase by 25 lengths, beating Native River. That's really good form. Beating Eldorado Allen at Haydock. I know that's probably not grade 1 form, although it was a grade 1. It wasn't grade 1 form. It's good enough to be beating handicappers as well. Okay, he was a little bit disappointing when he was only 4th behind Ahoy Senor, Sounds Russian and Noble Yates, but they probably are graded runners. Galopin Deschamps in the Gold Cup, he finished 5th. Not a bad effort. I mean, that sort of run, a repeat of that performance, his 5th in the Gold Cup, I think would see him go very close in this. If not, yeah, I mean, he led 2 out in a Gold Cup. If they can just wait slightly, a little bit more, give him a little bit more time, I think they can pick off these handicappers. You can see he set some really good figures, 157 and 157.4. The 157 actually came over 3 mile 2 at Cheltenham. A 153.5 was a third at Cheltenham. It's good R figures. Yes, there's a couple of others. Elvis Mail, easy as that. We don't know about the trip. Elvis Mail, that didn't really demonstrate at Kelso next time. He also might need the run. City Chief, just can't trust that. Can't trust this horse at all. Don't know what sort of effort he's going to put in. But yeah, I really like Protectorate here, and I think he's going to be the one to beat in this race. And he's a decent price. I thought he'd go off favourite, to be honest. And you can currently get him at 6s. I think that's a good price about him. Moving on to the 3 o'clock. The Albert Bartlett Novices Hurdle. Now, I don't normally get involved in these because you can't always assess novice hurdle form. But that novice hurdle performance from Shanag Boy, this 151.4, is massive. That is a massive figure on our R figures. And yeah, I think they know that he's good. He comfortably won last time, beating all the glory. And I fully expect him to improve on that. And yeah, I think he's going to take all the beating here. Just going to have a quick check of... Yeah, I don't think Nicky normally runs any horses in this. He's... it wouldn't surprise me if Shanag Boy turns out to be their Grand National horse of the future. I really like him. I think he'll win this en route. Destroy the Evidence has some good form as well. I think it's a good race. Similarly, Kerry Hill, that was a good performance for Ruth Jefferson. But that is now coming down to take on Southern Raiders or Southern horses, and I think they will just come out on top. So I think it'll be between Destroy the Evidence and Shanag Boy personally, but I really like Shanag Boy. I think that is a really good R figure. Currently available at 2 to 1, which I think is a fair price. I think he's going to... I think he'll probably go nearly favourite for the Albert Bartlett after winning this tomorrow. We move on to the final race on the card at Cheltenham, and there was a few that I was interested in here. They were Bonte, Theatre Glory, and Nurse Susan. Nurse Susan, she is well handicapped, especially on her runs with the likes of Love Envoy. Really well handicapped, especially over hurdles. But her comeback run wasn't great. If they'd given her a comeback run over hurdles and then stuck over hurdles, I would have been more keen on her. But they haven't. They've gone over fences. It didn't work. Now they're kind of, oh dear, let's try hurdles instead. And that's just a worry for me. Theatre Glory, I like her. I wonder whether she's just at about her handicap mark, though. The horse who isn't at her handicap mark yet is Bonte. Bonte is still winning, still going up. Fergal's obviously had a mare win first race today, Dysart Enos. Fergal knows what to do when he gets a horse that's good enough to win races at Cheltenham. And Bonte's actually won a few at Cheltenham, hasn't she? What's she won now at Cheltenham? 1, 2, she finished second. So 2 wins and a second at Cheltenham in bumpers. I think she's very good. And I think there's still a lot more to come from Bonte. And she is currently... Wrong race. Bonte is currently 3-1. And I think she is the one to beat here. I think Bonte is the one to beat. Nurse Susan could win it. But I'm kind of hoping that she needs one more run. Maybe they're looking at something. What is she currently rated? 125. They've got to be winning soon if they want to get in something. I think I even suggested last season Nurse Susan was a horse for the Imperial Cup. That could be where we end up seeing Nurse Susan. But yeah, Bonte, I think, is the one to beat here at 3-1. And the final one I want to talk about is the final race at Doncaster. And everyone's going to hate me because I'm going for Mr. Coffee again. Why am I going for Mr. Coffee? Okay. He's currently rated 140. That will not get him in the Grand National. I don't think it will get him in the Grand National. I think he needs to go up from 140. In actual fact, let's have a look at what got you in last year for the Grand National. Bearing in mind, there's only going to be 36 or 34? 34. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at 36 and 34, because I'm not 100% sure I remember the number. 35 was 143. 35 was 143. So off 140, you're not going to get in the Grand National. So he needs to win something. And I just feel that this might be a little bit easier than what he has been running in. His last effort at Cheltenham, that was just his comeback run. They were never interested in winning that. I think they're going to be now interested in winning a race. The last time he ran over 3 mile in a handicap, he actually finished second at Gutapan Cologne. Kind of this type of level, I feel, the race that he finished second in. This was the same sort of class as what he's taken on here. That came off a mark of 140. He's back down to 140. James Bowen on board. Gutapan Cologne, to be fair to him, did then go and finish fourth, a decent fourth in the Midlands National, and has since won again at Carlisle, and is rated 136 now, having won off 126. So Gutapan Cologne was actually just well handicapped that day as well. Even the horse back in fourth, Wayfinder. Wayfinder's come out and ran a really good race to Nassalam in the Coral Welsh National Trial. He ran off 128 when he was fourth, and he ran off 128 when he was second in a Welsh National Trial, suggesting that race was actually not that bad. And Mr. Coffee, he wasn't unlucky, it didn't quite work out. I do think it will work out tomorrow, and he is my selection at Doncaster at 11-2. So they're my selections for tomorrow. I'm going for Cabral de Matan. Paul Nicholls knows when he's got a juvenile that's worth running here. Hopefully Cabral de Matan can get him a win here. Some Scope, I think now he's found out how to jump, he's found out his trip, can go on from here and really kick on. Calico, I think they can go and win a couple of races with him. He just needs everything to go right, and Harry can just wait a little bit longer than he did last time. I like Fugitive and Montmoral. Montmoral bouncing back to form, hopefully. There was nothing actually wrong with his 2.5 mile race here last year behind the Real Whacker. And Fugitive just needs to settle better than he did last time. If he does, he'll go close. Protectorat, I love this, dropping down in the handicap, dropping down into a handicap. I think he is the best horse in the race, and I think he'll be able to give away that weight. Shanag Bob, that is a huge R figure and can't be ignored. I think he'll win this en route to be nearly favourite or favourite for the Albert Bartlett. Bonte, I think there's lots more to come still from Bonte. She likes Cheltenham as well. And finally, Mr. Coffee in the last race at Doncaster, because he needs to win if he has any prospects of getting back into the Grand National